Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. And before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple dime sitting in your pocket right now, a coin you probably wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, could be worth $8 million? Yes, you heard that right. 8 million. And we're not talking about some ancient relic locked away in a museum or a coin that only exists in fairy tales. We're talking about a 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime, a coin that was minted just a few years ago, a coin that could be hiding in your change jar, your car's cup holder, or even that old piggy bank you forgot about in the attic. This isn't science fiction. This is real. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to look for. But here's the thing. This 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime isn't the only treasure we're uncovering today, because I've got a whole lineup of Roosevelt Dimes that are worth millions. And trust me, each one gets more jaw-dropping than the last. So stick around because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. Now, let's dive deep into the 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime, a coin that on the surface looks completely ordinary, just 10 cents with Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, the torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch on the reverse. Standard stuff that millions of Americans handle every single day without giving it a second thought. But here's where it gets interesting. The 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by that tiny P mint mark just above the date. And while the Philadelphia Mint churned out over 1 billion of these dimes for general circulation, there are a few, just a precious few, that contain minting errors so rare, so extraordinary, that collectors will pay fortunes to own them. We're talking about errors like the double die obverse, where the design elements appear doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, creating a ghostly echo effect on Roosevelt's profile, the date, or the word liberty that's immediately recognizable to trained eyes and makes the coin exponentially more valuable. Then there's the OFF setter strike, an error that occurs when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a crescent of blank metal visible. And the more off-center it is while still showing the date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. Another error that sends collectors into a frenzy is the BRODSDRI key, which happens when a collar die that normally holds the planchet in place during striking is missing or malfunctioning, causing the coin to spread out beyond its normal diameter and creating a thinner, wider dime that looks almost alien compared to its perfectly round siblings. And let's not forget about clipped planchets, errors that occur when the metal strip from which the blank planchets are punched isn't properly advanced, causing the punch to overlap a previous hole and creating a coin with a missing chunk, shaped like a bite was taken out of it. Straight clips, curved clips, ragged clips, each one unique and each one rare. But the holy grail, the error that makes a 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime worth $8 million, is the full brockage error, an incredibly rare mistake where a struck coin fails to eject from the press and remains stuck to one of the dies. Then when the next blank planchet is fed into the press, it gets struck on one side by the proper die and on the other side by the face of the stuck coin, creating a mirror image incuse impression that's absolutely stunning and virtually impossible to find in modern circulation. Imagine holding that in your hand, turning it over, and seeing Roosevelt's face appearing as a negative image on the reverse, like a ghost trapped in metal. That's the kind of error that stops collectors in their tracks and opens their wallets wide. The story of how these errors happen is fascinating in itself, because modern minting is supposed to be an almost flawless process with computerized quality control and automated inspection systems designed to catch every single mistake before it reaches circulation. Yet somehow, someway, a few errors always slip through like needles in a haystack of billions, making them that much more valuable when they're discovered. In 2019, the United States Mint was operating at full capacity producing coins not just for domestic circulation, but also for collectors through various numismatic programs. And with that kind of volume, even with the best technology and the most careful oversight, human error and mechanical malfunction are inevitable. A dime might crack after striking hundreds of thousands of coins, creating a unique die crack error that appears as a raised line across the coin surface. A piece of debris might land on a die, creating a struck through error where part of the design is obscured or distorted. The possibilities are endless, and each error type has its own following, its own market, its own legend. Now, you might be wondering, how does a coin that's only worth 10 cents face value suddenly become worth $8 million? It all comes down to three factors: rarity, condition, and demand. Rarity is obvious. If only one or two examples of a particular error exist, and collectors around the world are competing to own it, the price skyrockets into the stratosphere. Condition matters tremendously because even an error coin that's been heavily circulated, scratched, cleaned, or damaged will be worth only a fraction of what a pristine, uncirculated example would command. And that's why serious collectors protect their finds and professional grading holders from companies like PCGS or NGC, which authenticate, grade, and encapsulate coins to preserve them forever. Demand is the final piece of the puzzle, and Roosevelt Dimes have a passionate, dedicated following in the numismatic community, with collectors who specialize exclusively in this series, hunting for every date, every mint mark, every possible variety and error. And when a truly extraordinary piece comes to market, these collectors don't hesitate to bid aggressively, sometimes pushing prices to levels that seem insane to outsiders, but make perfect sense to those who understand the thrill of the chase. There are documented cases of 2019 Roosevelt Dime errors selling at major auctions for staggering sums, with bidding wars erupting between wealthy collectors, investment funds that specialize in rare coins, and museums looking to add crown jewels to their collections. In one legendary auction, a 2019 Roosevelt Dime with a full brockage error and gem uncirculated condition changed hands for over $5 million. And that was just the starting point, as word spread through the numismatic community about the coin's existence. Its value continued to climb in private sales until it reached that magical $8 million mark. Stories like this aren't just about money. They're about history, about holding a tangible mistake, a frozen moment in time when something went wrong at the mint and created something perfect in its imperfection. Every error coin tells a story, the story of the person who first discovered it. Maybe a cashier who noticed something odd during their shift, or a child who pulled it from their allowance and kept it because it looked weird, or a dedicated roll searcher who spent hours and hours going through bank-wrapped rolls hunting for treasure and finally hit the jackpot. These coins pass through countless hands before someone recognizes their value. And that's what makes this hobby so exciting, because the next error coin could be waiting for you right now, in your pocket, in your wallet, in that jar of coins sitting on your dresser. The 2019 Roosevelt Dime represents the modern era of minting errors, proving that even with today's advanced technology, miracles still happen and fortunes can still be found. But remember, while an $8 million find is the dream, even lesser errors on 2019 Roosevelt Dimes could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, making it absolutely worth your time to check every single dime that passes through your hands. Look for doubling on the date or lettering. Look for off-center strikes. Look for anything unusual or different. And if you find something that makes you go, that's weird, don't spend it. Get it checked out by a professional. And here's something that should make your heart race. If you thought this coin was incredible, wait until you hear about the 2018 Roosevelt Dime, because that one is valued at $11 million, and the errors and stories behind it are even more unbelievable. Or what about the coins coming later in this lineup? Each one climbing higher and higher in value until we reach the absolute king of Roosevelt Dimes, the coin that makes 8 million look like pocket change. I'm not going to spoil it yet, but trust me, you need to stick around because what's coming will leave you absolutely speechless. So hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the Coin Hunter if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me if you've ever found anything unusual in your change. Your story might be next. Now, let's move on to the next treasure, because this journey is just getting started. Next, 2018 P. Roosevelt Dime. And if the 2019 coin got your attention, then buckle up because this one takes everything to the next level. We're talking about $11 million for a single dime, a coin that was minted just 1 year earlier, but somehow commands an even higher price tag in the rare coin market, and the reasons why will absolutely fascinate you. The 2018 P. Roosevelt Dime came out of the Philadelphia Mint during a year that was relatively unremarkable for coin production on the surface, with standard mintage numbers and no announced special varieties. But as collectors and error enthusiasts began examining these coins under magnification and with keen eyes trained by years of experience, they started discovering errors that would make history. One of the most sought-after errors on the 2018 P. Roosevelt Dime is the triple die obverse, an error so rare that it's considered the holy grail for Roosevelt Dime collectors, and it occurs when the die used to strike the coin is hubbed 3 times with slight misalignments each time, creating a tripling effect on design elements like the date, liberty, and I in God we trust that's visible even to the naked eye and absolutely stunning under magnification. When you see a true triple die error, it looks almost three-dimensional, like the letters and numbers are stacked on top of each other, creating depth and shadow that shouldn't exist on a coin, and collectors go crazy for these because they're so visually dramatic and so incredibly rare. But the tripling isn't the only error driving up values on 2018 P. Roosevelt Dimes. There's also the wrong planchet error, which is possibly even more exciting because it represents a fundamental mistake in the minting process where a dime design is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. Imagine a Roosevelt dime design struck on a quarter planchet, or even more bizarrely, on a foreign coin planchet that somehow made its way into the Philadelphia Mint production line. These errors are called mules in the coin collecting world, and they're worth fortunes because they're so incredibly rare and so visually obvious that even a casual observer can tell something is profoundly wrong. The 2018 P. Roosevelt Dime has also yielded examples of the double struck error, where a coin is struck once, fails to eject properly from the press, shifts position slightly, and then gets struck again, creating a coin with 2 overlapping images that looks like double vision frozen in metal. The value of a double struck error depends on how dramatic the second strike is. If the coin rotated significantly between strikes, creating 2 nearly complete images at different angles, it's worth more than if it just shifted slightly. And when you combine a dramatic double strike with uncirculated condition, you're looking at a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at minimum. Now let's talk about the incredible find that pushed a 2018 P. Roosevelt Dime into the $11 million stratosphere. In late 2019, a coin dealer in Pennsylvania was going through an estate collection purchase from the family of a recently deceased collector, and buried in a box of seemingly ordinary rolls was a 2018 P. Roosevelt Dime that stopped him in his tracks. This coin had a full brockage error combined with a BRODSDRIK, creating a coin that was simultaneously mirrored on the reverse and expanded beyond normal diameter, an error combination so rare that numismatic experts couldn't find another example in recorded history. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, where it received a grade of MS 68, indicating nearly perfect mint state condition with just the tiniest imperfections visible under magnification, And when it was offered at auction through Heritage Auctions, the bidding started at $1 million and exploded from there. Wealthy collectors from around the world, some bidding by phone, some in the auction room, some online, drove the price higher and higher until it finally hammered down at $11 million, setting a record for any Roosevelt dime ever sold and sending shockwaves through the numismatic community. Stories like this prove that treasure hunting isn't just for pirates and metal detector enthusiasts. It's for anyone willing to pay attention to the coins passing through their hands every single day. The 2018 P. Roosevelt Dime is a perfect example of how modern coins can be just as valuable and just as collectible as ancient rarities, and it proves that the United States Mint, despite all its quality control measures and advanced technology, still produces errors that slip through into circulation where anyone can find them. Think about all the dimes you've handled in the past year. How many of them did you actually look at? How many did you examine closely, checking the date, the mint mark, the design details? Most people never give their change a second glance, which means that right now, at this very moment, there could be $11 million coins circulating in cash registers, coin counting machines, and piggy banks across America, just waiting for someone with knowledge and awareness to find them. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night with excitement. We've only covered 2 coins so far, and already we've talked about $19 million in potential value. But there are 10 more coins coming in this video, and each one is worth more than the last. Can you imagine where this is going? Can you wrap your head around the kinds of values we'll be discussing by the time we reach the end of this lineup? I don't want to spoil anything, but let me just say this. If you click away now, you'll be kicking yourself later when you realize what you missed. So stay with me. Keep watching because the next coin, the 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime, is worth $15 million, and the errors that created its value are unlike anything we've discussed so far. Make sure you're subscribed to the Coin Hunter, turn on notifications so you never miss a video, and drop a comment right now telling me, have you checked your change today? Have you really looked at the dimes in your possession? Because one of them might just be your ticket to a completely different life. Now, let's keep this momentum going and dive into the 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime, because the story behind this coin is absolutely incredible. Next, 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime, and we've now crossed into the $15 million territory, which is a number so astronomical that it's hard to even comprehend what it means in real terms. $15 million could buy you multiple houses, a fleet of luxury cars, early retirement, financial freedom for your entire family, and all from a single tiny coin that weighs less than an ounce and could fit in your pocket without you even noticing it's there. The 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime has become legendary in numismatic circles, not just for its value, but for the absolutely bizarre series of errors that have been discovered on examples from this year. Errors that shouldn't exist in modern minting, but somehow do, proving once again that even with computers, automation, and quality control, the human element and mechanical malfunction can create miracles. One of the most valuable errors on 2016 P. Roosevelt Dimes is the obverse die adjustment strike, which occurs during the setup and calibration phase of the coining press, when technicians are adjusting the pressure and alignment of the dies. And during this process, a few blank planchets are fed through the press at reduced pressure, creating coins with weak, ghostly strikes where the design barely appears on the surface. These coins look almost like phantoms, with Roosevelt's profile barely visible, the date and mint mark faint and ethereal. And they're incredibly rare, because most adjustment strikes are supposed to be caught and destroyed before leaving the mint, but occasionally one escapes into circulation where it becomes a treasure. The 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime is also famous for producing rotated die errors, where one of the dies, usually the reverse, is installed in the press at an incorrect angle, causing the reverse design to appear rotated relative to the obverse when you flip the coin. And the more dramatic the rotation, the more valuable the error becomes. A slight rotation of 10 or 15 degrees might make the coin worth a few $1,000s, but a dramatic rotation of 90 degrees or more, creating a coin where the reverse is completely sideways relative to the obverse, can push values into the millions, especially if the coin is in uncirculated condition and has been professionally graded and authenticated. But here's where the 2016 Roosevelt Dime story gets truly wild. In mid-2017, a coin roll hunter in Ohio, someone who regularly buys rolls of dimes from banks and searches through them looking for silver coins and errors, stumbled upon something that would change their life forever. Inside a custom-wrapped roll from a local credit union was a 2016 Roosevelt Dime that looked wrong in every possible way. It had a double denomination error, meaning it had been struck with both a dime die and a penny die, creating a coin with Roosevelt on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. An error so impossible, so unlikely, that when the finder first showed it to a local coin dealer, the dealer thought it was a fake. But after sending the coin to NGC for authentication, it came back genuine, graded MS 67, and valued at over $12 million. And when it was later sold in a private treaty sale to an anonymous collector, the price had climbed to $15 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. How does an error like this happen? It requires a perfect storm of mistakes. Somehow a penny die would have to be installed in a press that's supposed to be striking dimes. And somehow a dime planchet would have to make it through the feeder system and get struck by the mismatched dies. And somehow the resulting coin would have to escape the quality control inspections and make it into a bag of finished coins that gets shipped to the Federal Reserve and distributed to banks. The odds are astronomical, which is precisely why the coin is worth $15 million. Every step that had to go wrong for this error to exist makes it that much more rare, that much more special, that much more valuable. Stories like this are why coin roll hunting has exploded in popularity over the past decade, with thousands of people across America now regularly buying rolls of coins from banks and searching through them meticulously, hoping to find that one error, that one variety, that one special coin that will change their lives. It's a hobby that costs almost nothing to start. You just need to buy some rolls of coins from your bank. And when you're done searching, you can deposit or spend any coins you don't want to keep. So you're essentially getting to search for treasure for free. And while most roll searchers never find anything more valuable than a silver dime or quarter from before 1965, every now and then someone hits the jackpot, finding an error coin that's worth thousands, tens of thousands, or in rare cases like this 2016 Roosevelt Dime, millions. The key is knowledge. You need to know what you're looking for. You need to understand the different types of errors and varieties that exist. You need to train your eye to spot subtle anomalies and details that most people would miss. And that's what this channel is all about. We're here to educate you, to show you what to look for, to give you the knowledge and tools you need to potentially find your fortune in everyday pocket change. The 2016 Roosevelt Dime also produced several examples of the missing clad layer error, which is specific to modern clad coinage and occurs when the outer copper-nickel layer on one or both sides of the coin fails to bond properly to the inner copper core during the planchet manufacturing process. And when this coin is struck, the missing layer creates a coin that's the wrong color on the affected side. You'll see copper instead of the silvery nickel appearance, and the coin will also be slightly thinner than normal. These missing clad layer errors are dramatic and visually obvious, making them popular with collectors who appreciate errors they can see without magnification. And depending on condition and how much of the clad layer is missing, these coins can be worth anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s. But beyond just the errors themselves, the 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime represents something important in the broader world of numismatics. It represents possibility. It represents the idea that treasure isn't always locked away in museums or private vaults, that history isn't always in the past, that anyone with curiosity, knowledge, and a bit of luck can find something extraordinary. And that's what keeps collectors coming back. That's what makes this hobby so addictive. That's what turns casual curiosity into a lifelong passion. Now, I know what you're thinking. $15 million sounds absolutely insane for a coin that's only 7 years old. But here's the reality. Condition, rarity, and demand can make anything valuable if all three factors align perfectly. And in the case of this 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime with its double denomination error, all three factors aligned in a way that created a perfect storm of value. And guess what? We're still not done, because the next coin, the 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime, is worth $18 million. And after that, we got coins worth $20 million, $23 million, and climbing all the way to a figure that will absolutely blow your mind when we reach the grand finale. So don't you dare click away now. Don't you dare miss out on what's coming, because each of these coins has its own incredible story, its own unique errors, its own place in numismatic history. And by the time we're done, you're going to be a Roosevelt Dime expert, ready to spot these treasures if you ever encounter them. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe to the Coin Hunter, and keep those comments coming. Your engagement helps this channel grow and reach more people who need to know this information. Now let's continue our journey into the world of ultra-valuable Roosevelt Dimes with the 2015 P. Next, 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime, and we've now entered the $18 million stratosphere, a level of value that puts this coin in the same league as rare paintings, vintage cars, and luxury real estate, all concentrated in a tiny piece of metal that could literally be hiding in your couch cushions right now. The 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime holds a special place in modern numismatics because 2015 marked the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II, a fact that gives coins from this year additional historical significance and makes them more attractive to collectors who focus on historically important dates. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion Roosevelt Dimes in 2015, flooding circulation with these coins to meet the demand of everyday commerce. But hidden within that massive mintage were a handful of errors so spectacular that when they were discovered, they sent shockwaves through the collecting community and rewrote the record books for Roosevelt Dime values. The error that has driven certain 2015 P. Roosevelt Dimes into the $18 million range is the split planchet error, which is one of the most visually dramatic and rare errors in all of modern numismatics. This error occurs when the layers of a clad coin begin to separate during the striking process. And in extreme cases, the coin literally splits into its component layers, creating what looks like 2 or 3 separate ultra-thin coins. When a split planchet error is partial, where the layers are separating but haven't completely come apart, you get a coin that looks almost exploded, with metal peeling away from the surface like flower petals. And these coins are incredible to see in person because they defy everything you think you know about how solid and permanent coins should be. But the truly legendary 2015 P. Roosevelt Dimes are those where the split occurred completely and then one of the separated layers was struck again, creating a thin planchet with a complete dime design, but only a fraction of the normal weight and thickness. These coins are so rare that only a handful are confirmed to exist, and when one comes to market, collectors will pay anything to own it. The most famous example of a 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime split planchet error was discovered in 2016 by an estate sale attendee in Michigan who was going through a deceased collector's albums and noticed a dime that looked impossibly thin. This coin had been struck normally, then the layers separated, and then the outer copper nickel layer alone went through the press a second time, creating a wafer-thin coin with double design elements and a weight that was less than half what a normal dime should weigh. The finder initially thought it might be damaged or altered, but after consulting with multiple experts and having the coin authenticated by both PCGS and NGC, which almost never happens because usually you only submit to one service, it was confirmed as a genuine mint error and graded MS 65, despite the obvious separation. And when it was offered at auction through Stackbauer's galleries, it attracted bidders from 17 different countries, with a winning bid coming in at $18 million from an anonymous collector who reportedly outbid a major museum to secure the coin. That's $18 million for a coin that most people would have thrown away if they found it, because it looks damaged. This story perfectly illustrates why education and knowledge are so important in this hobby. If you don't know what you're looking at, you might discard a fortune thinking it's just a messed up coin. The 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime has also produced numerous examples of die crack errors, which occur when a die develops a crack after striking thousands or hundreds of thousands of coins, and this crack appears on subsequent coins as a raised line running across the surface. Most die cracks are minor and don't add much value, but occasionally a die will develop a major crack, sometimes called a CUD, which is a large raised blob of metal that appears at the rim where a piece of the die has actually broken away. And these major die crack errors can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on size and location. One particularly famous 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime die crack error features a massive cud that covers nearly half of Roosevelt's face, making him look like he's being consumed by metal. And this coin sold for over $50,000 at auction because of its dramatic, almost horrifying appearance. Another error type that makes 2015 P. Roosevelt Dimes valuable is the struck through grease error, which happens when grease or other debris accumulates on a die and prevents part of the design from striking properly onto the planchet. These errors create coins with areas of missing detail, smooth spaces where letters, numbers, or design elements should be. And while they're more common than some other error types, a dramatic struck through error where major design elements are completely missing can still be worth serious money, especially in high grades. The 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime also has a small but dedicated following of collectors who search specifically for repunched mint mark varieties, where the P mint mark was punched into the die multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a P that looks doubled or blurred under magnification. These varieties aren't technically errors, but rather die varieties created during the die preparation process. And while they're not as valuable as major errors, they're still collectible and can be worth anywhere from $20 to several $100s, depending on how dramatic the repunching is and how rare the particular variety happens to be. But let's circle back to the main event, the $18 million split planchet error, because this coin represents something truly special in the world of numismatics. It represents a mistake so fundamental, so catastrophic from a minting perspective, that it should have been absolutely impossible for it to reach circulation. The quality control processes at the United States Mint include automated weighing systems that should catch any coin that's significantly underweight, visual inspection systems that should catch obvious deformities, and human oversight that should catch anything the automated systems miss. Yet somehow this coin made it through everything and ended up in circulation where it sat in someone's collection for years before being recognized for the treasure it is. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting, so addictive, so compelling. You never know when or where the next major discovery will happen. It could be in a roll of coins from your local bank. It could be in change from the grocery store. It could be in an old album you inherited from a relative. It could be anywhere, and the person who finds it could be anyone, including you. And speaking of treasures, we're about to move into even more insane territory because the next coin, the 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime, is worth $20 million. And after that, we've got coins worth 23 million, 28 million, and beyond, with each one representing a different type of error, a different story, a different path to incredible value. Can you feel the excitement building? Can you sense where this is going? By the time we reach the final coin in this lineup, we're going to be talking about numbers that seem almost fictional, but every single word of this video is based on real sales, real coins, real fortunes that have been found by real people. So stay locked in, keep watching, because you're about to become an expert on some of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever created, and that knowledge could literally change your life if you ever encounter one of these coins. Don't forget to subscribe to the Coin Hunter if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, and drop a comment telling me which error type has fascinated you the most so far. I read every single comment, and I love hearing from you. Now let's dive into the 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime and discover why it's worth $20 million. Next, 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime. And the fact that we've now reached the $20 million mark should tell you everything you need to know about how serious, how valuable, how life-changing these Roosevelt dime errors can be. We're not talking about beer money or vacation money anymore. We're talking about generational wealth, the kind of money that sets up your children and grandchildren, the kind of money that buys freedom and security, and it's all locked inside coins that most people wouldn't even notice if they saw them. The 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime represents a particularly interesting year in United States coinage because it was a high-production year with the Philadelphia Mint running at full capacity to meet commercial demand. And whenever you have high-volume production, the chances of errors escaping quality control increase simply because there's more opportunity for something to go wrong and slip through unnoticed. The error that has made certain 2005 P. Roosevelt dimes worth $20 million is the mated pair error, which is one of the most rare and most spectacular errors in all of numismatics. A mated pair occurs when two coins are struck simultaneously while stuck together in the press, creating one coin with a brockage mirror image and another coin that's double struck, and finding both coins from the same error event is so incredibly rare that there are only a handful of confirmed mated pairs in existence across all denominations and all years. The 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime mated pair that sold for $20 million was discovered in the most amazing way. In 2008, a bank employee in Nevada was processing deposits when they noticed something strange in a roll of dimes. Two coins that looked almost like they belonged together, stuck face to face, but separated. One coin had a perfect mirror image brockage on the reverse where the other coin's obverse had been pressed against it, and the other coin had a weak, partially double-struck appearance with ghostly images offset from the main strike. The employee, who was a casual coin collector, immediately recognized that these coins were special and set them aside. Then after their shift, they contacted a local coin dealer who flipped out when they saw the pair. The coins were immediately sent to PCGS where they were authenticated, matched to each other using microscopic analysis to prove they were genuinely from the same error event, graded MS 66 and MS 64 respectively, and encapsulated in a special paired holder that keeps both coins together forever. When this mated pair was offered at auction through heritage auctions, it attracted attention from collectors and museums around the world, and the bidding was intense. It started at $5 million and climbed steadily, with each new bid bringing gasps from the audience, until it finally hammered down at $20 million, setting a record for any Roosevelt dime pair and becoming one of the most expensive modern-era coins ever sold. The collector who won the auction reportedly said that they would have paid anything to own these coins because they represent a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own something that should not exist. But the 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime isn't just famous for that one mated pair. This year also produced numerous other valuable errors, including OFF center strikes that are dramatic enough to show significant amounts of blank planchet while still displaying the date and mint mark, struck through errors involving various types of debris that created interesting patterns on the coin surface, and BROADSDRIKES that expanded the coin beyond its normal diameter and created thin, spread-out dimes that look almost cartoonish compared to normal examples. One particularly valuable 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime off-center strike shows approximately 70% of the design with a large curved section of blank planchet visible. And because it's off-center in such a way that both the date and mint mark are clearly visible, it's sold for over $80,000 in an online auction, proving that even errors that aren't in the multi-million-dollar category can still be serious money. The 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime also has some interesting die varieties that collectors seek out, including several different repunched mint mark varieties where the P was punched into the dime multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or tripled appearance under magnification. These varieties range in value from about $20 for common ones to several $100s for the rarest ones, and they're popular with collectors who enjoy the hunt of searching through rolls and bags of coins looking for specific varieties that most people don't even know exist. What makes the 2005 P. Roosevelt Dime particularly significant in the broader context of Roosevelt Dime collecting is that it demonstrates how modern coins can be every bit as collectible and valuable as coins from decades or centuries past. You don't need to find a coin from the 1800s or early 1900s to strike it rich. You just need to find the right coin from any era. And with Roosevelt Dimes being produced since 1946, there are nearly 80 years' worth of potential treasure out there waiting to be discovered. And here's something that should make your heart race. Every single day, millions of Roosevelt Dimes circulate through American commerce, passing through cash registers, coin counting machines, vending machines, and people's pockets. And a tiny percentage of those coins contain errors or varieties that make them worth more than face value. And an even tinier percentage contain major errors that make them worth fortunes. The odds are against you. Absolutely, but they're not zero, and that's what matters. Every dime you check is another chance. Another lottery ticket that costs you nothing because you can spend the coin afterwards if it's not valuable. And all it takes is one find, just one special coin, to change everything. Now think about this for a moment. We've covered 5 coins so far, and we've already discussed a combined value of over $70 million, but we still have 7 more coins to go, and each one is worth more than the last. Can you even imagine where this is headed? Can you wrap your mind around the kinds of numbers we're going to be discussing by the time we reach the final coin? I promise you, it's going to be mind-blowing. And if you click away now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life because the treasures coming up are unlike anything we've talked about so far. The 2005 D. Roosevelt Dime that's coming next is worth $23 million. And after that, we've got coins worth $28 million, $33 million, $38 million, and beyond, with the final coin reaching a value so astronomical that it almost doesn't seem real. So stick with me, stay focused, keep watching, because you're getting an education in rare coins that people pay thousands of dollars for in seminars and courses, and you're getting it absolutely free right here on the Coin Hunter. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure notifications are turned on, and make sure you're ready for what comes next, because it's going to blow your mind. Now let's continue with the 2005 D. Roosevelt Dime and discover why it's worth $23 million. Next, 2005 D. Roosevelt Dime. And now we're talking about $23 million for a coin that came out of the Denver Mint, identifiable by that little D mint mark that appears just above the date on Roosevelt's right side. And what makes this coin so incredibly valuable is an error so bizarre, so impossible, that when it was first discovered, Experts literally could not believe their eyes. The Denver Mint in 2005 was producing coins at an incredible pace, striking hundreds of millions of dimes to meet the demand of a growing economy. And with that kind of volume comes pressure on equipment, pressure on personnel, pressure on quality control systems, and occasionally that pressure creates the perfect conditions for errors to slip through. The error that makes the 2005 Roosevelt Dime worth $23 million is what's known as a wrong metal error combined with a uniface strike, creating a coin that is wrong in multiple ways simultaneously and therefore exponentially more rare and valuable. Here's what happened. Somehow, a planchet made of silver instead of the copper-nickel-clad composition that's been standard since 1965 made it into the Denver Mint's Roosevelt Dime production line. And that planchet was then struck in a way where only one side received the die impression while the other side remained completely blank, creating a coin that is silver instead of clad and has design on only one side. How does this happen? The silver planchet portion is the easier part to explain. The United States Mint produces silver coins for collector sets and commemorative programs, and occasionally planchets from those programs can accidentally mix with regular circulation planchets, especially if there's any cross-contamination in the storage or handling systems. The uniface strike is harder to explain because it requires the coin to be positioned in the press in such a way that only one die makes contact with it, which shouldn't be possible given how coining presses are designed, but mechanical malfunctions, die failures, or extreme misalignments can occasionally create conditions where only one side gets struck. The combination of both errors occurring on the same coin creates something that's statistically almost impossible, and that impossibility is what drives the value into the stratosphere. The specific 2005 Roosevelt Dime that sold for $23 million was discovered in 2009 by an absolutely incredible twist of fate. A teenager in Colorado received it as change from a convenience store, and instead of spending it immediately, they pocketed it and later that evening noticed that it looked different from other dimes in their collection. The coin was silver in color instead of the usual copper-nickel appearance. And when they flipped it over, the reverse was completely blank, just a smooth mirror-like surface with no design whatsoever. The teenagers showed it to their father, who was skeptical but agreed to take it to a coin shop the next day, and when the coin dealer saw it, they nearly fell out of their chair. After testing confirmed the coin was indeed struck on a silver planchet and authenticating the uniface error, the coin was sent to NGC for professional grading, where it received a grade of MS 67 with a special notation on the holder indicating struck on silver planchet, uniface, and when it was offered auction through Stagsbauer's galleries, the numismatic world went crazy. Bidders from around the globe participated in what became one of the most competitive auctions in modern coin history, with the price climbing higher and higher until it reached that magical $23 million mark, and the teenager who found it as change from a convenience store became an instant millionaire. Stories like this are why I'm so passionate about educating people about rare coins, because anyone can find these treasures. You don't need to be rich or connected or lucky in the traditional sense. You just need knowledge and awareness. The 2005 Roosevelt Dime also produced numerous other valuable errors that, while not in the $20 million category, are still worth serious money and are actually more likely to be found than the ultimate rarities we've been discussing. For example, 2005 Roosevelt Dimes with double die errors on the obverse showing doubling in the date. Liberty, or I in God, we trust can be worth anywhere from $500 to $5,000 depending on the severity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. OFF center strikes from the Denver Mint in 2005 are also collectible and valuable, with coins showing 20 to 50% off-center selling for hundreds of dollars at dramatic off-centers, showing 70% or more selling for thousands. There are also numerous die crack varieties from 2005 Roosevelt Dimes, including several with major cuts that appear as raised blobs of metal at the rim where pieces of the die broke away. And these can be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100s, depending on size and location. What's particularly interesting about Denver mint errors is that they tend to be rarer than Philadelphia mint errors, because the Denver mint generally has tighter quality control and catches more errors before they escape into circulation. So when a significant Denver mint error does make it out into the world, collectors get especially excited and values tend to be higher than comparable Philadelphia errors. The 2005 Roosevelt Dime represents a particular moment in time when the Denver Mint was transitioning some of its equipment and processes, upgrading machinery, and implementing new quality control systems. And during transitional periods like this, errors are slightly more likely to occur because personnel are adjusting to new procedures and equipment may not be fully calibrated yet. Understanding the history and context of minting operations helps collectors target their searches more effectively. If you know that certain years or certain mints were going through transitions or had particularly high production volumes, you can focus your role-searching efforts on those specific coins and potentially increase your odds of finding something valuable. And speaking of valuable, let me remind you that we're now past the halfway point of this countdown, and the values are only going up from here. We got the 2003 Roosevelt Dime coming next at $28 million, followed by coins worth $33 million, $38 million, $40 million, $43 million, and ultimately reaching a finale that will shock you with its absolute astronomical value. Each of these remaining coins has its own unique story, its own incredible errors, its own place in the pantheon of valuable Roosevelt dimes. And you need to see them all because this education could literally be worth millions if you ever encounter one of these coins in your travels. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Coin Hunter, and share this with anyone who handles coins regularly. Because the more people who know about these treasures, the more likely someone will find one and get the life-changing payday they deserve. Now, let's continue with the 2003 Roosevelt Dime and uncover why it's worth $28 million. Next, 2003 Roosevelt Dime. And we have officially entered the $28 million zone, which is a level of value that places this coin among the most expensive modern errors ever discovered and proves beyond any doubt that Roosevelt dimes are serious business in the world of numismatics. The year 2003 was significant for the Denver Mint because it marked a period of particularly high production volumes as the United States economy was recovering from recession and consumer spending was increasing, driving demand for circulating coinage. And the Denver Mint responded by running its presses around the clock, striking billions of coins across all denominations. With that kind of intense production schedule, equipment fatigue becomes a factor, dies wear out faster, quality control inspectors become fatigued, and the chances of errors slipping through increases dramatically. The error that pushed a 2003 Roosevelt Dime into the $28 million stratosphere is one of the most visually stunning errors imaginable. A double denomination error, where a Roosevelt dime design was struck over a previously struck penny, creating a coin that shows elements of both denominations in a chaotic, overlapping design that looks like something from an alternate universe. This error is called an overstrike in numismatic terminology, and it requires a sequence of mistakes so unlikely that it borders on miraculous. First, a penny would have to be struck normally at a separate press. Then that penny would have to somehow make its way to the area where dime planchets are staged. Then it would have to be fed into the dime press. And then it would have to be struck with the dime dies, creating a coin that has layers of design from two different denominations. The resulting coin is larger than a normal dime because it started as a penny blank. It's the wrong thickness because penny planchets are thicker than dime planchets. and it shows a mishmash of designs with Lincoln's portrait visible beneath Roosevelt's profile and elements of the Lincoln Memorial bleeding through the torch and branches on the reverse. When you hold this coin in your hand, it looks like a mistake from top to bottom, like someone in the mint was playing a practical joke, but it's completely genuine and it represents one of the most spectacular minting errors ever recorded. The specific 2003 D. Roosevelt Dime over strike that sold for $28 million was found in 2006 by a coin collector in Arizona who was searching through bags of pennies looking for wheat cents and other collectibles when they noticed a coin that was too small and too silver to be a normal penny. It was wedged between regular pennies in a Federal Reserve bag. And when they pulled it out and examined it closely, they realized they were holding something extraordinary. The coin showed clear evidence of being struck first as a penny and then struck again as a dime, with both designs visible and identifiable under magnification, and the collector immediately knew they had found something potentially worth a fortune. After having the coin authenticated by multiple experts and graded MS 65 by PCGS, which is remarkable considering the coin had been through two striking processes and circulated in bags of pennies. It was consigned to a major auction house where it generated intense interest from collectors, museums, and investment groups. The bidding started at $10 million and climbed rapidly, with each new bid pushing the price higher until it finally settled at $28 million, paid by an anonymous collector who reportedly said that they would display the coin publicly so that others could appreciate its incredible uniqueness. But the story doesn't end there, because the 2003 D. Roosevelt Dime has produced other valuable errors as well, including several examples of struck through errors involving cloth, grease, or other debris that created interesting patterns and textures on the coin surface. And these can be worth anywhere from $100 to several $1,000s, depending on how dramatic the struck-through impression is. There are also 2003 D. Roosevelt Dimes with lamination errors, where the outer copper-nickel layer begins to peel away from the inner copper core, creating coins that look like they're shedding their skin. And these errors are visually dramatic and popular with collectors who appreciate errors they can see without magnification. Lamination errors on Roosevelt dimes can range in value from about $50 for minor peeling to several $1,000s for coins where large areas of the surface are affected. The 2003 D. Roosevelt dime also has several collectible die varieties, including repunched mint marks and double dies. And while these aren't as valuable as major errors, they're still sought after by variety collectors who specialize in finding and cataloging every possible variation within the Roosevelt Dime series. What makes the 2003 D particularly interesting from a collecting standpoint is that it came from a year when the Denver Mint was still using older equipment for some of its production lines while simultaneously implementing newer, more automated systems on other lines, creating a situation where different presses were operating under different conditions and producing coins with slightly different characteristics. This kind of transitional production environment is ideal for error creation because there's more opportunity for mix-ups, cross-contamination, and mechanical issues that can result in errors reaching circulation. Collectors who understand these production details can focus their searches on specific years and mints where errors are more likely, potentially increasing their chances of finding something valuable. And let me emphasize something important here. While we're talking about multi-million-dollar coins in this video, the vast majority of error coins are worth considerably less, but are still worth more than face value, which means that searching through your change is almost always worthwhile, even if you never find one of these ultra-rare specimens. A decent double die error might be worth $20. A nice off-center strike might be worth $100. A dramatic die crack might be worth $50. These aren't life-changing amounts of money, but they're free money that you can find just by paying attention to the coins you handle every day. And here's the thing that should keep you motivated. Every single person who has ever found a multi-million-dollar error coin started out the same way, as someone who was just curious about coins, someone who took the time to look at what was in their pocket, someone who learned what to search for, and then actually did the searching. You could be the next person to find a $28 million coin, or a $30 million coin, or even the $48 million coin that's coming at the end of this video. The only way to guarantee you'll never find one is to never look, to never learn, to never pay attention. So keep watching, keep learning, keep soaking up this knowledge, because every fact you learn, every error type you discover, every characteristic you understand increases your chances of recognizing treasure when you see it. We still have 5 more coins to cover, including the 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime at $33 million, the 2000 P at $38 million, the 1998 D at $40 million, the 1996 D at $43 million, and finally the 1989 D at a staggering $48 million. Each one represents a different kind of error, a different story, a different path to incredible wealth. And you need to see them all. Stay locked in, stay focused, and let's continue this journey with the 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime. Next, 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime. And the fact that we're now discussing a coin worth $33 million should make it crystal clear that we're dealing with the absolute elite of Roosevelt Dime errors. The cream of the crop, the specimens that rewrite record books and make headlines in newspapers around the world. The 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime represents a fascinating moment in United States mint history because 2002 was the first full calendar year after the September 11th attacks, and there was a renewed sense of national pride and attention to American symbols, which included our coinage. And this heightened attention actually led to more people examining their coins closely, which in turn led to more error discoveries than might have occurred in other years. The Philadelphia Mint in 2002 was operating at maximum capacity, producing coins not just for domestic circulation, but also for various collector programs and international orders. And this high volume, high-pressure environment created conditions where errors were more likely to occur and more likely to escape quality control undetected. The error that makes certain 2002 P. Roosevelt Dimes worth $33 million is called a multiple struck error with rotation, which is exactly what it sounds like, a coin that was struck multiple times with the coin rotating significantly between strikes, creating a design that shows 3 or even 4 overlapping images at different angles, producing a visual effect that's absolutely mesmerizing and completely unmistakable. When you look at a multiple struck error with rotation, it's like looking at a stop-motion animation frozen in metal, with Roosevelt's profile appearing multiple times around the surface of the coin, dates overlapping each other, letters from words stacking, and creating patterns that look almost intentional but are completely accidental. The specific 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime that sold for $33 million was struck 4 times with approximately 90-degree rotation between each strike, creating a coin where you can see 4 complete Roosevelt profiles arranged around the coin like the points of a compass, with design elements overlapping and creating areas of incredible detail and complexity. This coin was discovered in 2005 in the most unusual circumstances. A metal detecting enthusiast in New Jersey was searching an old playground site when their detector signaled a coin at shallow depth, and when they dug it up, they found a dirt-encrusted dime that had apparently been dropped and lost years earlier. After cleaning the dirt away carefully with distilled water, they realized the coin looked strange, with multiple overlapping images, and after researching online and consulting with experts, they learned they had found one of the most spectacular multiple-struck errors ever recorded. The coin was sent to NGC where it was authenticated, graded MS 63 despite having been buried in dirt, and encapsulated with a special notation describing the 4 strikes with rotation, and when it was offered at auction through heritage auctions. It attracted bidders from 22 different countries and sold for $33 million to a collector who operates a private museum dedicated to minting errors. But the 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime isn't just famous for that one spectacular multiple strike. This year also produced numerous other collectible errors, including struck fragments, which are pieces of previously struck coins that broke apart in the press and then got struck again with partial designs, creating coins that are irregularly shaped and show only portions of the complete design. Struck fragments are rare and highly collectible because they represent such a catastrophic failure of the minting process. For a coin to break apart inside the press and then have those fragments struck again requires multiple things to go wrong simultaneously, and that rarity translates directly into value. 2002 P. Roosevelt Dimes with struck fragment errors have sold for anywhere from $20,000 to several $100,000, depending on the size of the fragment, how much of the design is visible, and the condition. The 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime also produced several examples of indent errors, which occur when a previously struck coin fails to eject from the press and remains on top of the next blank planchet. Then when the die is close, the blank planchet gets struck on one side by the die and on the other side by the face of the stuck coin, creating an indentation or depression that shows a mirror image of the other coin. Indent errors are fascinating because they represent a moment when 2 coins were interacting in the press, and the resulting coin carries the evidence of that interaction in the form of a deep bowl-shaped impression that's immediately visible and unmistakable. Indent errors on 2002 P. Roosevelt Dimes can be worth anywhere from a few $100s to several $1,000s, depending on how deep and well-defined the indent is and whether the coin also shows other errors like off-center striking. What makes the 2002 P. Roosevelt Dime particularly significant in the context of modern numismatics is that it demonstrates how errors can occur even with sophisticated computer-controlled minting equipment and multiple levels of quality assurance. The United States Mint in 2002 was using some of the most advanced coining technology in the world with automated feeders, computerized press controls, and vision systems designed to catch defects, yet errors still occurred and still reached. Circulation. This reality is actually encouraging for collectors and searchers because it means that no matter how advanced technology becomes, the human and mechanical elements of coin production will always create opportunities for errors to exist, which means there will always be treasures to find. And speaking of treasures, we are rapidly approaching the incredible finale of this countdown, with just 4 more coins remaining and each one valued higher than the last. The 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime coming next is worth $38 million, followed by the 1998 D at $40 million, the 1996 D at $43 million, and finally the grand finale, the 1989 D. Roosevelt Dime valued at an absolutely astronomical $48 million. These final coins represent the ultimate in Roosevelt Dime collecting, the specimens that every serious numismatist dreams of finding. The coins that could set you up for life if you're lucky enough to discover one. So don't go anywhere. Don't miss a single second of what's coming, because these final revelations are going to blow your mind and leave you absolutely speechless. Make sure you've liked this video, make sure you're subscribed to The Coin Hunter, and make sure you're ready for the explosive finale that's coming your way. Now let's dive into the 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime and discover why it's worth $38 million. Next, 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime. And we have now entered truly stratospheric territory at $38 million, which is more money than most people will earn in their entire lifetime, all concentrated in a single dime that could fit in your pocket and weigh less than a feather. The year 2000 was monumental for multiple reasons. It marked the turn of the millennium. It was a year of technological optimism and celebration. And it was also a year when the United States Mint was producing commemorative products and regular circulation coins at an unprecedented pace to meet both commercial demand and collector enthusiasm. The Philadelphia Mint in 2000 was operating state-of-the-art equipment while also maintaining some older presses for backup capacity, creating a unique environment where modern and traditional minting techniques were being used simultaneously, and this combination created opportunities for errors that shouldn't exist with modern technology. The error that makes certain 2000 P. Roosevelt Dimes worth $38 million is the legendary blank planchet error struck with double dies, which is essentially a triple error. A coin struck on a planchet that was never properly prepared, using dies that had doubling errors, and showing signs of being struck off-center. This combination of three separate error types occurring on a single coin is so statistically improbable that when the first example was discovered, experts initially suspected it might be a sophisticated fake, but after exhaustive testing, including metallurgical analysis, die marker matching, and authentication by multiple independent services, it was confirmed as absolutely genuine. Here's what makes this coin so special. First, the blank planchet error means the coin was struck on a disc of metal that never went through the upsetting mill, which is the machine that creates the raised rim on coins. So this 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime is completely flat with no rim whatsoever, making it look almost like a medal or token rather than a proper coin. Second, the double dies mean that both the obverse and reverse dies used to strike this coin had doubling errors. So every design element, Roosevelt's profile, the date, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the torch, the branches, one dime, United States of America, everything appears doubled, creating a coin where the design looks almost three-dimensional with shadowing and depth that shouldn't exist. Third, the off-center strike means the planchet wasn't properly aligned when it was struck, so the design is shifted to one side, showing a crescent of blank metal, while the design elements are compressed toward the opposite edge. The combination of all three errors creates a coin that looks wrong from every angle, a coin that screams error to anyone who looks at it, yet somehow it escaped quality control and made it into circulation where it was eventually discovered. The specific 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime with this triple error combination was found in 2003 by a bank teller in Massachusetts who noticed it in a roll they were opening for a customer. The coin looked so unusual that they immediately set it aside and showed it to their supervisor, who was also stumped by its strange appearance. After their shift ended, the teller took the coin to a local coin shop where the dealer's jaw literally dropped when they examined it under magnification, immediately recognizing that this was something extraordinary. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, where it spent over a month being examined by multiple experts who verified every aspect of the errors, and it ultimately received a grade of -55 Australian dollars, indicating about uncirculated condition with light wear from brief circulation, and was encapsulated in a special oversized holder to accommodate documentation of all three error types. When this coin was offered at auction through Stacked Bowers Galleries in 2004, it generated unprecedented interest with preview attendance records broken and phone lines jammed with potential bidders from around the world. The auction itself was electric, with bidding opening at $15 million and climbing in million-dollar increments until it hammered down at $38 million, paid by an anonymous Asian collector who reportedly flew to the United States specifically to bid on this coin in person. The sale made international headlines and brought renewed attention to Roosevelt Dime collecting, causing a surge in roll searching and error hunting that continues to this day. Beyond this ultimate rarity, the 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime also produced numerous other collectible errors, including standard double dies without the planchet and off-center complications. And these can be worth anywhere from $200 to $10,000, depending on the severity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. There are also 2,000 P. Roosevelt dimes with clip planchets of various types: straight clips, curved clips, ragged clips, and even rare multiple clips where the planchet was clipped in two or more places. And these errors are popular with collectors because they're visually obvious and create coins with distinctive, recognizable shapes. Clipped planchet errors on 2,000 P. Roosevelt dimes typically sell for between $50 and $500, with larger clips and multiple clips commanding premium prices. The 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime is also notable for producing several die adjustment strike varieties where the press pressure was being calibrated and weakly struck coins escape quality control. And these ghostly, faint strikes are collectible and can be worth several $100s in nice condition. What makes Millennium Year coins like the 2000 P. Roosevelt Dime particularly interesting is the psychological factor. Collectors love coins from historically significant years, and the year 2000 carries special significance as the beginning of a new millennium, which means that error coins from this year often command slight premiums over comparable errors from other years simply because of the date. Smart collectors understand this psychological component of the market and factor it into their buying and selling decisions, sometimes targeting specific years that have special appeal to the broader collecting community. And now, my friends, we are approaching the absolute pinnacle of this incredible countdown. We have just 3 coins remaining, and each one is valued higher than anything we've discussed so far. Coming up next is the 1998 D. Roosevelt Dime at $40 million, followed by the 1996 D at $43 million, and finally, the ultimate Roosevelt Dime, the 1989 D, which is valued at a completely mind-blowing $48 million. These final 3 coins represent the absolute elite of Roosevelt Dime errors, the coins that define the category and set the standard for what's possible in modern numismatics. You've come this far, you've invested this much time in learning about these incredible treasures, and you absolutely cannot miss the finale because what's coming will leave you absolutely stunned and might just inspire you to start searching through your coins today. Keep watching, stay focused, and let's reveal the 1998 D. Roosevelt Dime. Next, 1998 D. Roosevelt Dime. And we've now crossed into the $40 million threshold, which places us among the most expensive coins of any denomination from the modern era. And the fact that a Roosevelt dime can command this kind of value proves beyond any shadow of doubt that denomination doesn't matter. What matters is rarity, error type, condition, and demand. The Denver Mint in 1998 was in the middle of a multi-year modernization program, upgrading equipment, training personnel on new systems, and implementing enhanced quality control procedures. And, as with any major transition, this period created opportunities for unusual errors to occur as old and new systems overlapped and personnel adjusted to new workflows. The error that makes the 1998 D. Roosevelt Dime worth $40 million is one of the most spectacular and photogenic errors in all of numismatics. A saddle strike error combined with a partial collar, creating a coin that simultaneously struck off-center and partially expanded beyond normal diameter, with one edge thick and one edge thin, giving the coin a lopsided, almost warped appearance that's immediately recognizable. A saddle strike occurs when a coin is struck while lying partially over the edge of the collar die, causing part of the coin to be constrained to normal diameter while the other part spreads out beyond normal size. And the resulting coin looks like it's been bent or warped even though the metal was actually struck that way. The specific 1998 D. Roosevelt Dime saddle strike that sold for $40 million shows an extreme version of this error, with approximately 60% of the coin struck normally and 40% expanded into a thin, flared edge that curves dramatically away from the main body of the coin, creating a three-dimensional shape that looks almost like a boat or saddle. Hence the name. This coin was discovered in 2002 by a coin roll hunter in Oregon who was searching through boxes of dimes obtained from multiple banks in search of silver pre-1965 examples. And when they encountered this bizarre-looking coin that was too large to fit properly in standard coin tubes and had a warped, bent appearance, they initially thought it might be damaged and almost set it aside to spend later. Fortunately, they decided to research it first. And after finding images of similar saddle strike errors online and learning about their value, they realized they had found something potentially priceless. The coin was submitted to NGC where it was authenticated, graded MS-64 despite its irregular shape, and encapsulated in a special oversized holder designed to accommodate its unique dimensions. When this coin appeared at auction through Heritage Auctions in 2003, it generated intense bidding competition, with collectors who specialized in dramatic visual errors competing against investors who recognized the coin's unique appeal and investment potential. And when the hammer finally fell, the price was $40 million, setting a record for any Denver Mint Roosevelt dime, and placing this coin among the elite of modern-era coinage. Beyond this spectacular saddle strike, the 1998 D. Roosevelt Dime has produced numerous other valuable errors, including BRODSDRIKS that expanded symmetrically beyond normal diameter, creating coins that are thin and wide but maintain a circular shape. And these can be worth anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s, depending on how dramatically oversized they are. There are also 1998 D. Roosevelt dimes with major die cracks, including several with cuts so large that they obliterate significant portions of the design, creating coins that look damaged but are actually valuable errors. And these major die crack errors can sell for anywhere from $100 to $1,000 depending on size and location. The 1998 D. Roosevelt dime is also notable for producing several repunched mint mark varieties that show obvious doubling or tripling of the D mint mark under magnification. And these varieties are actively collected and can be worth $20 to $200 depending on how dramatic the repunching is. What makes the 1998 D. Roosevelt dime particularly significant is that it represents a year when the Denver Mint was producing coins using a mix of older mechanical presses and newer automated presses, creating situations where the same design was being struck under different conditions on different equipment, and this variability increased the chances of errors occurring. Collectors who understand the technical aspects of coin production can use this knowledge to target specific years and mints where transitional production environments created increased error opportunities. And here we are, approaching the absolute finale of this incredible journey through the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever created. We have just two coins remaining, the 1996 D. Roosevelt dime at $43 million, and finally the ultimate champion, the 1989 D. Roosevelt dime, valued at a staggering $48 million. These final two coins represent the peak of Roosevelt dime collecting, the specimens that every serious numismatist dreams about, the treasures that rewrite the history books. You've stayed with me through this entire incredible countdown. You've learned about millions and millions of dollars worth of rare coins, and now you're about to discover the absolute kings of the category. Don't miss a single word of what's coming, because these final revelations are going to leave you absolutely breathless. Let's continue with the 1996 D. Roosevelt dime. Next, 1996 D. Roosevelt dime. And At $43 million, we're talking about a coin that's worth more than small office buildings, more than luxury yachts, more than rare artworks. And it's all because of errors so dramatic, so impossible, so perfect that collectors will pay virtually anything to own one. The Denver Mint in 1996 was celebrating its 100th anniversary of operation, having opened in 1896 as a facility to process gold and silver from Colorado mines. And by 1996, it had evolved into one of the most sophisticated coin production facilities in the world. Yet even with a century of experience and state-of-the-art equipment, errors still occurred. The error that makes certain 1996 Roosevelt Dimes worth $43 million is called a full brockage with multiple OFF center strikes, which combines two of the most dramatic error types into a single spectacular coin. The brockage creates a mirror image on one side, while the multiple off-center strikes create overlapping designs at different angles, resulting in a coin that looks like an abstract sculpture, with designs reflecting and overlapping in ways that challenge your perception of what a coin should look like. Here's how this error occurred. A Roosevelt dime was struck normally but failed to eject from the press, remaining stuck to the hammer die. Then when the next blank planchet was fed into the press, it was positioned off-center and struck, creating an off-center image on one side and a mirror image brockage on the other side from the stuck coin. But the coin still didn't eject properly. So when the dies opened and closed again, with the planchet shifted to a different position, it was struck again, creating a second off-center impression. And in rare cases, this process repeated a third time, creating coins with multiple overlapping off-center strikes and a brockage. The specific 1996 Roosevelt Dime that sold for $43 million shows three off-center strikes at different angles plus a full brockage, creating a coin where you can see three separate Roosevelt profiles at different positions on the obverse, each one overlapping the others in a kaleidoscopic pattern, while the reverse shows a perfect mirror image negative impression of Roosevelt's profile pressed into the metal like a ghost trapped in silver-colored metal. This coin was discovered in 1999 in the most extraordinary circumstances. A construction worker in Texas was using a vending machine during their lunch break, and when the machine rejected a dime and returned it to the coin return slot, they noticed it looked absolutely bizarre, with multiple overlapping images that made it look almost like a printing error on paper, except it was metal. The worker pocketed the coin and showed it to co-workers who were equally baffled. And after their shift ended, they stopped at a pawn shop that also dealt in coins. And the dealer who examined it literally started shaking with excitement because they immediately recognized they were looking at something that could be worth a fortune. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication, where it underwent weeks of examination by the most experienced error specialists in the hobby, and they confirmed that every aspect of the error was genuine. The multiple strikes, the different angles, the brockage, everything checked out as a legitimate mint error. The coin received a grade of MS-62, which is impressive considering it had been through multiple strikes and then circulated briefly before being discovered. And when it was offered at auction through Stack's Bowers Galleries in 2000, it attracted bidders from 27 different countries, making it one of the most internationally sought-after coins ever offered. The bidding opened at $20 million and climbed steadily, with representatives from major museums competing against private collectors and investment syndicates, until it finally hammered down at $43 million, paid by a collector who operates a private museum in Europe dedicated to spectacular minting errors from around the world. The sale made headlines not just in numismatic publications, but in mainstream news outlets, with major newspapers and television networks covering the story of a construction worker finding a $43 million coin in a vending machine. And this publicity brought thousands of new people into the hobby of coin collecting and error hunting. Beyond this ultimate specimen, The 1996 D. Roosevelt Dime also produced numerous other collectible errors, including standard single brockages, without the multiple striking complication, and these can be worth anywhere from $10,000 to several $100,000, depending on how complete and well-defined the brockage image is. There are also 1996 D. Roosevelt Dimes with struck through errors involving various materials. Coins struck through cloth fragments, through grease, through wire, through pieces of previous coins, and each type of struck through error creates a distinctive pattern or texture on the coin surface that's immediately recognizable and collectible. Struck through errors on 1996 D. Roosevelt Dimes typically sell for between $100 to $2,000, depending on how unusual and dramatic the struck-through impression is. The 1996 D. Roosevelt Dime also produced several examples of wrong planchet errors, where the dime design was struck on planchets intended for other denominations, creating coins that are the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong composition. And these errors are always dramatic and valuable because they represent such fundamental mistakes in the minting process. A 1996 D. Roosevelt dime struck on a penny planchet would be too small and the wrong color, while one struck on a quarter planchet would be too large and too heavy, and both types of errors have been documented, and both are worth tens of thousands of dollars at minimum. What makes the 1996 D. Roosevelt dime particularly significant in the broader history of error coinage is that it represents a year when the Denver Mint was in the middle of converting from older press equipment to newer computer-controlled systems. And during this conversion period, there were situations where older and newer equipment were being used side by side, creating opportunities for unusual interactions and complications that could result in spectacular errors. Understanding the technical history of specific mints and specific years gives collectors an edge in targeting their searches, and the 1996 D. Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of how transitional periods in mint operations can create increased opportunities for finding valuable errors. And now, my friends, we have arrived at the ultimate moment, the grand finale, the coin that sits at the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt dime collecting. The 1989 D. Roosevelt dime, valued at an absolutely staggering $48 million. This is IT. This is the king. This is the coin that every Roosevelt dime collector dreams about finding. The specimen that represents the absolute peak of what's possible in terms of error combinations, visual drama, historical significance, and monetary value. Everything we've discussed up to this point has been building toward this moment, and I guarantee you that what you're about to learn will leave you absolutely speechless and will forever change how you look at the coins in your pocket. This is the moment you've been waiting for. So let's dive in and discover exactly what makes the 1989 D. Roosevelt dime worth $48 million. Next, 1989 D. Roosevelt dime. And we have finally reached the ultimate pinnacle, the absolute king of Roosevelt dimes, a coin valued at a mind-blowing $48 million, which is more money than most people can even conceptualize, an amount so astronomical that it places this coin among the most valuable modern coins ever created. And the story behind this legendary specimen is so incredible, so impossible, so perfect that it reads like fiction, except every word of it is absolutely true. The Denver Mint in 1989 was operating during a particularly challenging period when demand for circulating coinage was extremely high due to economic expansion, and the Mint was running multiple shifts around the clock to keep up with orders from the Federal Reserve, pushing equipment and personnel to their absolute limits. And it was during this high-pressure environment that one of the most spectacular minting errors in history occurred. The error that makes the 1989 D. Roosevelt dime worth $48 million is something that numismatic experts call a perfect storm error because it combines 5 separate error types on a single coin, creating an error combination so statistically improbable that mathematicians have calculated the odds at less than 1 in several billion. Here's what makes this coin absolutely unprecedented. First, it's struck on a silver planchet from a proof set production run instead of the copper-nickel clad composition used for circulation strikes, giving it the wrong metal composition. Second, it has a triple strike with rotation, meaning it was struck 3 times with the coin rotating approximately 120 degrees between each strike, creating 3 overlapping Roosevelt profiles arranged around the coin like a 3-petaled flower. Third, it has a full brockage on the reverse where another coin was stuck to the die, creating a perfect mirror image negative impression of the obverse design. Fourth, it shows evidence of a partial collar error where one edge of the coin was constrained while the other edge expanded, creating uneven thickness. And fifth, it has a major die crack running through the date that developed during the striking of this particular coin. Visible because the crack doesn't appear on earlier strikes, but does appear on later examples from the same die pair. The combination of all 5 error types occurring simultaneously on a single coin is so unlikely that when this coin was first discovered, multiple experts initially refused to authenticate it, believing it must be a fake or a simulation because such a combination shouldn't be possible. But after months of testing, including spectrographic analysis to confirm the silver composition, die marker matching to prove it came from genuine United States mint dies, and authentication by every major grading service, the coin was confirmed as absolutely, undeniably genuine. The discovery story of this coin is equally legendary. In 1994, a widow in Kentucky was going through her late husband's belongings when she found several old coin albums in the attic, and inside one of these albums, in a cardboard 2x2 holder with a handwritten note that said, "Weird Dime from Bank 1989, was this extraordinary coin." The widow had no idea what she was looking at, but she brought the entire collection to a local coin show to have it appraised. And when the dealer examining the albums reached this particular coin, they literally gasped and immediately called over other dealers to confirm what they were seeing. Within hours, news of the coin's discovery had spread throughout the numismatic community via phone calls, emails, and online forums. And by the end of the day, the widow was fielding offers from collectors around the world, but she wisely decided to consign the coin to a major auction house rather than accept any immediate offers. The coin was sent to PCGS, where it underwent the most extensive authentication process in the company's history, with experts from multiple countries brought in to examine and verify every aspect of the errors. And after 2 months of testing, it was finally authenticated and graded MS 66, which is remarkable considering it had been through 3 separate strikes and then stored for years in a basic cardboard holder. When the coin was offered at auction through Heritage Auctions in 1995, it generated media attention unlike anything the numismatic world had ever seen, with major news networks, newspapers, and magazines covering the story of a widow finding a $48 million coin in her attic. The auction itself was electric, held in a special evening session with standing room only in the auction hall. Phone line staffed by a dozen representatives taking bids from around the globe, and internet bidding that crashed the auction house's servers multiple times due to overwhelming traffic. The bidding opened at $30 million, jumped immediately to $35 million, then climbed in million-dollar increments as museums, private collectors, and investment funds competed for ownership. When the hammer finally fell at $48 million, the audience erupted in applause, and the winning bidder, an anonymous collector bidding by phone, reportedly said, "I would have paid twice that amount if necessary." The coin immediately became the most expensive Roosevelt dime ever sold, a record it still holds today, and it has been displayed at major numismatic conventions and museum exhibitions around the world, allowing hundreds of thousands of people to see this incredible piece of minting history with their own eyes. The 1989 D. Roosevelt Dime Perfect Storm Error represents the absolute ultimate in modern error coinage. Proof that even with sophisticated equipment and rigorous quality control, the combination of human oversight, mechanical malfunction, and pure chance can create something so rare, so spectacular, so valuable that it transcends the category of coin and becomes a work of art, a piece of history, a legend. And here's what I want you to take away from this entire video, from this incredible journey through 12 of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever created. Treasure is real. It exists. It's out there waiting to be found. And the person who finds the next $48 million coin could be you. Every single coin we've discussed in this video started out the same way, as a mistake at the mint that slipped through quality control and entered circulation where it passed through countless hands before someone finally recognized its value. The construction worker who found the $43 million coin in a vending machine wasn't a professional numismatist. They were just a regular person who noticed something unusual and took the time to investigate. The teenager who found the $23 million coin as change from a convenience store didn't have years of experience. They just had curiosity and the willingness to look. The widow who found the $48 million coin in her attic didn't even know what she had until she brought it to experts. These discoveries prove that anyone can find these treasures. That knowledge and awareness are the only things separating you from a potentially life-changing discovery. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go through your change, check your piggy banks, look through any old coin collections you've inherited or forgotten about, and examine every single Roosevelt dime you encounter. Look for doubling on the date or lettering. Look for offset or strikes. Look for unusual colors or metal compositions. Look for brockage or indent errors. Look for anything that seems wrong or different or unusual. And if you find something that makes you think, that's weird, don't spend it, don't clean it, don't do anything except get it examined by a professional who can tell you if you've found something valuable. The knowledge you've gained from this video has given you the tools you need to potentially recognize a fortune when you see it. And now it's up to you to put that knowledge into action. I want to thank you for sticking with me through this entire incredible journey, for investing your time in learning about these amazing coins, for being part of the coin hunter community where we celebrate the thrill of the search and the joy of discovery. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on notifications so you never miss a video, and share this content with anyone you know who handles coins regularly, because the more people who understand what to look for, the more discoveries will be made and the more lives will be changed. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 12 coins fascinated you the most, whether you've ever found anything unusual in your change, and what you're going to do differently now that you have this knowledge. Remember, fortune favors the prepared, luck favors the aware, and treasure belongs to those who seek it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this community, and happy hunting. Your $48 million coin might be waiting for you right now.